The red carpet spotlight always favors perfect, golden couples. But behind those radiant smiles, the black entertainment industry harbors some mismatched pairings that border on the absurd. What really happens behind bedroom doors when a physical gap isn't just about probing stairs, but turns into a daily inconvenience? It's the sight of a giant woman easily scooping up her skin and bones boyfriend under his armpits and carrying him into the bedroom. It's the spine-tingling contrast of a supermodel's flawless fingers touching her husband's deeply pitted, heavily scarred cheeks. Or the bitterness of a husband forced to correct people when society mistakes him for his wife's son. Today, let's uncover the most naked truths in the daily lives of the 15 most shockingly mismatched couples in history. Are you ready? 15. Gary Coleman and Shannon Price. A violent marriage. Inside a boy's body. Gary Coleman was born on February 8, 1968. In the 70s and 80s, he was the most powerful and highest-paid black child actor on American television with the series Different Strokes, at one point earning $100,000 per episode. However, Gary suffered from a cruel congenital kidney disease called nephritis. This illness, coupled with heavy medical treatments, completely stunted his physical growth. Gary was permanently trapped at a height of 4 feet 8 inches. Despite possessing the intellect and ego of a grown man, his stature was that of a 10-year-old boy. In 2007, at the age of 39, Gary married Shannon Price, an unknown 22-year-old white woman who stood 5 feet 7 inches and was perfectly healthy. The most naked picture of this disparity wasn't in the tabloids, but inside their Utah home, where everyday frictions easily escalated into physical violence. Picture an argument in the living room. Gary, as the financial provider and a man with a massive ego, tries to wave his arms and raise his voice to overpower his wife. But physically, he has to crane his neck up just to see Shannon's face. When Shannon got angry, she didn't need a weapon or a man's strength. The nearly 1 foot height difference and dozens of pounds in weight allowed Shannon to easily overpower Gary. She could shove him down onto the hardwood floor, grab his shirt, or scratch him while Gary was utterly powerless to fight back. His frail constitution, having survived 2 kidney transplants, meant he quickly lost his breath and was left in agony. That scene was the ultimate humiliation. A former Hollywood superstar, a middle-aged man, lying helplessly on the floor, taking a beating from his larger, younger wife, looking no different than a child being abused by an adult. This disparity created a horrifying cycle of domestic violence. Gary had to call 911 for police help multiple times because his wife was beating him. They secretly divorced in 2008, but continued to live together, constantly fighting. The tragedy reached its peak in 2010 when Gary suffered a fall at home, hit his head, and fell into a deep coma. The chilling part is that Shannon, the woman who was already divorced from him and frequently abused him, was the one who held his medical proxy and made the decision to pull the plug, ending Gary Coleman's life at the age of 42. 14. Teddy Pendergrass and Joan Williams. Love transcending a paralyzed body. Teddy Pendergrass, born on March 26, 1950, was hailed as the ultimate symbol of masculinity and sex appeal in 70s R&B. He possessed a muscular physique, a signature full beard, and sweaty, passionate performances that drove tens of thousands of female fans wild. But in March 1982, a horrific car crash in Philadelphia sent his Rolls-Royce smashing into a tree. A fractured spine at the C5 to C6 vertebrae left Teddy a quadriplegic, stripped of all mobility from the chest down. In 2008, he officially married Joan Williams, a perfectly healthy woman. This union brought about a cruel contrast in physical mobility. Every day, Joan had to use her strength to hoist Teddy's large but motionless body from the bed to the wheelchair. Teddy could only sit still. The hands that once gripped the microphone and danced now just lay limp on his thighs. Joan had to carefully button every button on his shirt and put on his shoes. For all personal matters like bathing and going to the restroom, Teddy was entirely dependent on his wife's physical labor. The most glaring sight was a wife constantly pacing, bustling around doing non-stop manual labor to care for a massive husband who had to sit immobilized in one spot. The total paralysis did not push the couple apart. On the contrary, it proved that Joan loved Teddy for the man he was, not for his looks or sex appeal. Joan became Teddy's hands and feet, helping him run his foundation for spinal cord injury victims. She nursed him through dangerous bouts of illness until the day Teddy closed his eyes for the final time in 2010. 13. The notorious B.I.G. and Faith Evans, the giant who had to use a cane. Christopher Wallace, famously known as the notorious B.I.G. or Biggie, was born on May 21, 1972. He is recognized as one of the greatest rappers in music history. However, Biggie's physical appearance was a severe health hazard. He stood 6 feet 3 inches, but weighed nearly 400 pounds, suffering from morbid obesity. His physical condition worsened after a severe car accident in 1996 that shattered his left leg. Biggie was confined to a wheelchair for months, and afterward was forced to rely on a walking cane, hobbling along with great difficulty. In 1994, he married Faith Evans, a stunningly beautiful, petite R&B singer with a standard figure. This union created one of the most physically mismatched couples in the 90s music scene. Their daily life was heavily impacted by Biggie's oversized frame. Weighing nearly 400 pounds, his respiratory system was severely overworked. He frequently wheezed and dripped with sweat after just a few steps of walking. With a shattered left leg, moving around became sheer torture. When the couple went out for dinner or events, Faith Evans, with her compact, healthy body, frequently had to slow down or stand waiting for her husband. Biggie would walk while heavily clacking his cane against the pavement, having to grip his wife tightly whenever he wanted to step up onto a curb or get into a car. That scene was truly heavy. A young, beautiful woman constantly having to act as a physical crutch for a man as massive as a black mountain, bulky and struggling to walk. The pressure of his weight meant Biggie couldn't do simple things like bend down to tie his shoelaces, and Faith was the one who frequently had to help him with those trivial tasks. Despite carrying a heavy body, walking with a cane, and needing his wife's help, Biggie lived an incredibly reckless romantic life. The physical disparity didn't make him insecure. Conversely, he constantly cheated with multiple other women, most notably female rapper Lil' Kim. Having a husband in poor health and oversized, yet a chronic philanderer, devastated Faith Evans. The couple fought constantly and decided to separate. This exhausting marriage hadn't even been fully resolved when Biggie was shot dead in his car in 1997. Leaving Faith Evans a widow right as she turned 23. 12. Slick Rick and Mandy Aragonés, the real face behind the eye patch. Slick Rick, real name Richard Walters, was born on January 14, 1965 in England, later moving to the U.S. to build his career. He was a highly famous early-era rapper known for his storytelling skills. Rick's signature look was always wearing stacks of heavy gold chains around his neck and a diamond-encrusted pirate eye patch. Many people thought it was just a fashion statement, but the truth is, when he was just a little boy, Rick was struck in the right eye by a piece of broken window glass. The accident left him blind and completely ruined that eye, leaving severe aftermath. In 1997, he married Mandy Aragonés. Mandy was a very beautiful woman with a symmetrical face, flawless skin, and absolutely no physical defects. When out on the streets or appearing on TV, the eye patch helped Rick hide his flaw while simultaneously turning him into a badass rapper. But when he came home, closed the door, and took off his accessories, the truth about his appearance became glaringly clear. In the evening, inside their bedroom, Mandy would sit at her vanity wiping her face, revealing a perfectly intact, natural face and healthy eyes. At the same time, Rick would take off his eye patch and put it away. The damaged right eye socket was clearly exposed. Due to the severe childhood injury, that eye socket had shriveled up, was puckered with scars, and completely asymmetrical to the rest of his face. When the couple stood side by side, The physical disparity hit you right in the face. One person with a flawless, perfect face, the other bearing a permanent disability with half of his face deformed. The fact that Rick dared to take off the eye patch in front of his wife every day showed an immense level of trust, because in those moments he had no jewelry left to hide the ugliest part of his body. Even though Rick's facial defect was quite alarming, Mandy was never deterred or showed any discomfort. His appearance didn't affect their family life at all. On the contrary, she was his strongest pillar of support. In the early 90s, Rick had to serve 5 years in prison for shooting someone. After his release, U.S. immigration constantly tried to deport him because he was a British citizen who had committed a crime. Throughout the grueling 20-plus years of legal battles for Rick to stay in the U.S., Mandy was always by his side, handling paperwork and supporting her husband. Their marriage remains strong and happy to this very day. 11. Flavor Flav and Brigitte Nielsen, the skinny rapper and the 6'1" giant actress. William Drayton Jr., also known as Flavor Flav, was born on March 16, 1959. He is a highly famous rapper from the group Public Enemy, always appearing with a giant wall clock dangling from his neck. Physically, Flav is quite short, standing around 5 feet 7 inches, but he suffers from severe underweight issues. He is incredibly scrawny with spindly limbs, always looking like someone suffering from malnutrition. In 2004, Flav joined the reality TV show The Surreal Life and began dating Brigitte Nielsen. Brigitte is a famous Danish actress born in 1963. In stark contrast to Flav, Brigitte stands at 6 feet 1 inch, has a very broad shoulder structure, a robust build, and the physique of a giant supermodel. The disparity between Flav and Brigitte created a massive visual shock for anyone living in the reality show house. The physical gap was most glaringly exposed during incredibly mundane activities. When they stood talking or arguing, Brigitte looked like a giant mother leaning down to scold a starving teenage son. There was one evening after a party when Flav drank too much and couldn't stand straight. Instead of struggling to prop him up, Brigitte simply wrapped one of her massive arms around Flav's skin and bones waist, scooped him up off the ground with extreme ease, and carried him straight into the bedroom. Flav's spindly legs dangled, swallowed up in Brigitte's arms. Or when they kissed, the disparity became even more apparent. Flav had to stand completely on his tiptoes and crane his neck to the max, while Brigitte had to bend her back entirely just to reach his lips. Flav's arms weren't long enough to fully wrap around Brigitte's broad back. The absolute physical dominance of the woman over a scrawny, gold-toothed black man created a scene that was both comical and grotesque. Although many thought the relationship was a TV stunt, they actually stayed together for a short time, even starring in their own spin-off show called Strange Love. However, drastic lifestyle differences and personal disagreements caused them to split. Although it didn't lead to marriage, the image of arguably the most bizarrely mismatched couple in America remains seared into the minds of reality TV viewers of that era. 10. Barry White and Glodian White, the 370-pound giant and the 8-inch fingernails. Barry White was born on September 12, 1944. He was a legend of soul and R&B, the man with the smoothest bass voice of all time. Barry was a literal giant. He stood 6 feet 3 inches and was morbidly obese. At times, his weight tipped over the 370 pounds mark. In 1974, he married Glodian White, one of his own backup singers. Glodian had a normal, slender figure, but she had an incredibly bizarre physical aesthetic obsession. She always wore oversized, high-piled hairdos and grew her fingernails out to nearly 8 inches long, curving at the ends. The combination of an excessively obese man and a woman sporting eagle-like talons created the strangest couple in the music industry. By the late 90s, the 370 pounds of weight began destroying Barry's body. His cardiovascular system and kidneys were critically overworked. The struggle was most evident right inside their home. Just standing up to walk from the living room to the bedroom left Barry gasping for air. His stomach protruded massively, and sweat constantly poured out, soaking the baggy silk shirts he usually wore. Whenever he was exhausted, Glodian was always by his side to care for him. But it was in these moments that her 8-inch fingernails became an incredibly clumsy hindrance. When Glodian wanted to grab a towel to wipe the sweat off her husband's forehead, those long curling nails kept clicking and clacking against each other. She couldn't use her fingertips to grasp objects, open pill bottles, or hold her husband's hand normally. Instead, she had to use her palms or the sides of her fingers to pinch things in a very awkward manner. The sight of a giant man dripping in sweat, breathing heavily due to high blood pressure, sitting and waiting for his wife to clumsily grab his medicine with sharp talons, was an incredibly suffocating and inconvenient reality. Despite Glodian's somewhat inconvenient appearance when it came to nursing a sick man, she accompanied Barry faithfully for years. However, Barry White's oversized body ultimately couldn't fight off the illnesses. Due to prolonged high blood pressure and obesity, his kidneys failed completely. After months on dialysis and suffering a stroke, he passed away in July 2003 at the age of 58. Glodian kept her bizarre style and continued to manage the massive musical legacy her husband left behind. 9. Eazy-E and Tamika Woods, the gangsta rap godfather, wasting away beside his healthy wife. Eric Wright, famous under the stage name Eazy-E, was born on September 7, 1964. He was the frontman of NWA, the man the world called the godfather of gangsta rap. In his songs, Eazy-E always portrayed himself as incredibly dangerous, sowing fear with lyrics about guns, gangs, and street violence. But contrary to that ferocious image, in real life he was extremely small, standing exactly 5 feet 2 inches. In 1991, he met Tamika Woods at a nightclub. Tamika was a woman of normal stature, tall and perfectly healthy. Even though Eazy-E was a notorious philanderer who had 7 children with 6 different women, Tamika stuck by him. The most agonizing disparity between them wasn't when he was at his peak, but during the final days of his life. In March 1995, Eazy-E was coughing violently and had to be admitted to Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles, thinking he had severe asthma. But the doctor delivered a devastating blow. He had AIDS and was in the final stages. At this point, the HIV virus was mercilessly ravaging his body. In a very short time from a healthy man, Eazy-E suffered severe weight loss, reduced to nothing but skin and bones. Swallowed up in the stark white hospital bed, the Godfather's breathing was faint through an oxygen mask. His eyes were deeply sunken, and every dry cough drained whatever feeble strength remained in that 5 feet 2 inches body. Standing right next to the edge of the bed was Tamika. She was pregnant with their child, her belly protruding, her body brimming with the vitality of a mother-to-be. The smell of antiseptic in the room grew thick as Tamika leaned down, using her warm hands to clasp her husband's freezing, shriveled hands. The contrast at this moment was the pinnacle of cruelty. A wife incubating life, standing and watching her husband's body rotting and wasting away by the hour from an incurable disease. Right in that suffocating hospital room at 9:30 p.m. on March 14, 1995, Eazy-E and Tamika got married. Just 12 days after exchanging vows, Eazy-E took his last breath at the age of 30. His rapid death shocked the entirety of America. Tamika and her unborn child thankfully tested negative for HIV. She became the heir and took over the entirety of her late husband's Ruthless Records label. 8. Shaquille O'Neal and Nicole Hoops Alexander, the bulky body of the 7-foot 1-inch giant. Shaquille O'Neal, born in 1972, is one of America's greatest basketball superstars. He possesses a body so massive it borders on the absurd, standing 7 feet 1 inch and weighing over 330 pounds. Wherever he went, Shaq drew all eyes because his body was the size of a building. In 2010, he began dating Nicole Hoops Alexander, a girl who rose to fame from reality TV shows. Nicole had an incredibly petite frame, standing a mere 5 feet 2 inches and weighing under 110 pounds. The gap of nearly 2 feet in height and over 220 pounds in weight made their dating life full of hilariously awkward situations. The blind spot of this relationship was most glaringly exposed during seemingly normal affectionate gestures. Picture them taking a walk down the street. Shaq's giant shadow would cast over and completely blanket Nicole's body. When they held hands, Shaq's hand, as big as a pot lid, completely swallowed not just her hand, but covered her entire wrist. If Nicole wanted to talk to Shaq while walking, she had to crane her neck back so far it ached, while Shaq had to hunch his massive back all the way down just to hear her. Looking at them next to each other, people always had an anxious feeling that if Shaq just accidentally turned a bit too forcefully, he could inadvertently break his tiny girlfriend's bones. Nevertheless, this romance only lasted about 2 years before coming to an end. 7. CeeLo Green and Shani James, the clunky proposal of the round singer. CeeLo Green, born in 1975, is a famous singer known for his soaring vocals in the global hit Crazy. Unlike the majority of black male singers who often have toned or tall physiques, CeeLo's appearance is truly unusual. He stands about 5 feet 5 inches, 1 point, 65 meters, but his body is extremely rotund. His arms and legs are very short compared to the proportions of his massive protruding belly. The press at the time often described his shape as round as a bowling ball. To cover up his insecurities, he often chose to wear incredibly eccentric, sequin-studded outfits and oversized sunglasses. In 2015, he got engaged to Shani James, a young woman who possesses a tall, slender, and stunningly beautiful figure. The physical gap between the two was most clearly exposed on the exact night he decided to propose to her in a recording studio. CeeLo had secretly hidden the expensive diamond ring inside a pile of equipment. When Shani accidentally found the ring, CeeLo wanted to perform the romantic, movie-like proposal ritual, getting down on one knee. But with a chubby, rotund body and legs that were too short, bending his knee to kneel on the floor was not easy at all. He had to carefully brace himself with his hands, slowly lowering his center of gravity in a rather heavy manner. Even though photos of this couple were often teased by netizens due to the glaring mismatch, Shani happily accepted the proposal, and they chose to turn a deaf ear to all the gossip. 6. Michael Clark. Duncan and Omarosa Manigault, a chest as hard as rock in the night of fighting for life. Michael Clark Duncan was a notorious black actor in Hollywood, famous for his role in The Green Mile. He possessed a body like a mountain, standing 6 feet 5 inches and weighing over 300 pounds, all of which was solid muscle. In 2010, he got engaged to Omarosa Manigault, a reality TV star who stood 5 feet 10 inches but had a very slender build. This disparity brought the feeling that Michael could use one hand to shield his wife from any storm. But no one expected that this very giant frame would become a fatal barrier on the fateful night of his life. The incident took place in the early hours of July 13, 2012, at their home in Los Angeles. It was 2 a.m., and Omarosa was fast asleep when she abruptly woke up to the sounds of heavy, choking, gasping breaths coming from Michael. He was suffering a massive heart attack. The situation was absolute panic. When Michael lost consciousness, his entire 300-plus pounds of weight collapsed onto the mattress as heavy as a boulder. Omarosa frantically called 911 and was instructed by the dispatcher to immediately perform CPR to save her husband's life. This was the exact moment the physical disparity turned into a nightmare. Michael's chest was too thick, armored by layers of steel-like chest muscles he had trained his whole life. Omarosa interlocked her slender hands, placed them in the center of his chest, and drove her entire body weight down from above, but her hands practically bounced right back. The physical strength of a normal woman couldn't depress that massive wall of muscle deep enough to pump blood to his heart. Sweat drenching her forehead, her breath catching amid choked sobs, she knelt on the bed, desperately pressing non-stop to no avail. A feeling of ultimate helplessness surged as she realized she didn't have the strength to shift her husband's body, nor could she break through that muscular armor. When paramedics arrived, it took the strength of burly men to finally shock Michael's heart back into a rhythm. But because the initial CPR was ineffective due to the physical barrier, his brain had been deprived of oxygen for too long. He remained in a coma for 2 months and passed away in September 2012, leaving Omarosa with an unending trauma. 5. Ruben Studdard and Sarata Zuri McCants, the suffocating wedding of the 400-pound groom. Ruben Studdard is the winner of American Idol Season 2, affectionately dubbed the Velvet Teddy Bear. Contrary to his sweet singing voice, Ruben carried a morbidly obese physique. By 2008, he weighed nearly 400 pounds. He met Sarata Zuri McCants at a CD signing at a Walmart. Sarata was a black woman with a very proportional, neat, and petite figure. They quickly fell in love and got married. Their wedding took place in June 2008 in Birmingham, Alabama. The physical disparity was most visible right as they stood at the altar. The Southern American summer was incredibly sweltering. Ruben wore an oversized, custom-tailored white tuxedo. The thick fabric combined with his 400-pound frame forced his respiratory system to work on overdrive. In stark contrast to the radiant, effortless look of the bride Sarata in her form-fitting wedding dress, Ruben was dripping with sweat. He constantly had to use a white handkerchief to mop up the heavy sweat on his forehead and neck throughout the ceremony. When the minister asked them to hold hands for their vows, Ruben's chubby, thick hands engulfed Sarata's slender ones. He stood towering, his chest heaving as he gasped for air due to the heat and nerves, blocking almost all the light shining onto the bride. When they shared their kiss, Ruben had to bend his massive body down, his huge arms wrapping around Sarata's waist, looking as though they wanted to swallow her whole into his baggy suit jacket. The contrast between the heavy, sweating groom and the delicate bride created a wedding scene that felt somewhat suffocating, yet very authentic regarding the struggles of obesity. Although the wedding was very romantic, Ruben's lifestyle troubles and health pressures heavily impacted their family life. His oversized body mass caused him numerous mobility issues. The couple divorced in 2012. After this shock, Ruben was forced to join the reality show The Biggest Loser to lose weight and save his own life. 4. Seal and Heidi Klum, Pitted Scars, Touching Supermodel Skin. Seal is a famous singer with a signature raspy voice. His biggest identifying feature is his deformed face. Both of his cheeks are crisscrossed with deep pitted scars. His facial skin is rough and his head is bald. These are the aftermath of discoid lupus erythematosus, which he contracted in his youth. In 2004, he accidentally bumped into Heidi Klum, a Victoria's Secret lingerie supermodel possessing a radiant beauty, golden blonde hair, and flawlessly smooth skin without a single blemish. Their first meeting took place in the lobby of the Mercer Hotel in New York in 2004. And this was the moment that most authentically exposed the physical clash between their two worlds. Heidi was sitting there waiting for a friend, wearing light makeup, her skin glowing under the lobby lights. Right at that moment, Seal walked in from the gym. He was wearing tight cycling shorts and a t-shirt drenched in sweat. With no stage lighting to hide it, the sweat made the pitted scars on Seal's cheekbones look even more rugged and harsh. For a man carrying a scarred face, standing in front of a beautiful supermodel while dripping in sweat is a terrifying test of ego. But instead of turning her face away in disgust at the ugliness, Heidi's eyes were glued to him. When Seal walked over to say hello, the post-workout smell of sweat mixing with his awkwardness, he clumsily smiled, revealing the gap between his two front teeth. But in that exact moment, Heidi wasn't looking at the scars. In her later autobiography, she recounted that at that moment, she was simply mesmerized by his tall stature and the sincerity radiating from Seal. The scene in the hotel lobby that day was an intense visual and tactile collision. A woman paid millions for her perfection, standing and smiling passionately at a man with a bizarre face and sweat-soaked clothes. That moment of erasing physical insecurities kick-started one of the most beautiful marriages in the entertainment industry. They married in 2005. Despite the disparity in their looks, Heidi was always proud to hug and kiss her husband's scarred face on every red carpet. They share 3 children together and frequently renewed their vows every year before amicably divorcing in 2014. 3. Tony Cox and Otelia Cox, probing stares behind the short actor. Tony Cox was born on March 31, 1958. He is one of the most famous black actors with dwarfism in Hollywood, a familiar face from comedies like Bad Santa and Friday. Tony's height is permanently locked at 3 feet 6 inches. Unlike many in similar situations who often choose partners of a similar build, in 1981, Tony married Otelia Cox. Otelia was his high school sweetheart, a woman with a completely normal height and figure. The 2-foot height gap between the husband and wife brought awkward difficulties into even the smallest movements in public. The blind spot was most visible whenever they took a walk on the streets of Los Angeles. When they wanted to hold hands, the posture for both was very awkward. Otelia had to relax her arm, drop her shoulder, and lean her body all the way down. Meanwhile, Tony had to raise his short arm as high as it could go just to interlock fingers with his wife. After walking for a bit, both of their shoulders would tense up and ache. But the biggest discomfort didn't come from their bodies. It came from the eyes of passers-by. When walking into a restaurant, Tony was only as tall as the edge of the table. He had to ask the waiter to bring out a high booster chair meant for toddlers just so he could sit and eat at eye level with his wife. Guests at neighboring tables would constantly turn and stare in shock. Sometimes ignorant people would even walk up and ask Otelia in a patronizingly sweet tone, "Taking your son out to eat, are you?" Every time she heard that phrase, the smile on Otelia's lips would freeze. As for Tony, the pride of a grown man, a husband was shredded. He had to clear his throat and use his deep, raspy, middle-aged man's voice to assert his position, erasing the child label society had just slapped on him. The feeling of constantly having to explain and prove that he was a legal husband right next to his own wife was a lingering suffocation. Despite the inconveniences in how they stood and sat and the thousands of probing, curious, and judgmental stares from society over decades, Otelia never let go of her husband's hand. In stark contrast to mismatched couples that often break apart, Tony and Otelia's marriage is one of the rarest, most enduring romances in Hollywood. They have been together for over 40 years, proving that the understanding from their youth can absolutely bridge the 2-foot height gap between them. 2. Al Roker and Deborah Roberts, the sunken mattress and the husband's heavy breathing. Al Roker, born on August 20, 1954, is NBC's incredibly famous weather anchor. Throughout the 90s, Al Roker suffered from severe obesity. At his peak, his body ballooned like a giant sphere, weighing up to 340 pounds. In 1995, he married Deborah Roberts, an ABC television journalist. In complete contrast to her husband, Deborah was an incredibly slender, trim woman who wore a size 4 and was obsessed with exercising and clean eating. This fierce clash in physical appearance was most starkly exposed in the tight confines of the bedroom and the dining table. Let's step into their room in the middle of the night. Al Roker drops his 340-pound body onto the bed. The massive weight presses down so hard that the mattress sinks deep into a crater on one side. Even though Deborah lay on the other half of the bed, gravity constantly dragged her, sliding toward her husband's depression. The massive physical gap turned into a genuine marital crisis. Deborah cried and issued an ultimatum because she couldn't stand the embarrassment of walking next to an overly obese husband anymore, and feared he would die early, leaving her and the children behind. The pressure from his slender wife forced Al Roker to make a life-or-death decision. In 2002, he went under the knife for gastric bypass surgery, successfully losing over 100 pounds to save both his life and his marriage. 1. Big Pun and Liza Rios, the suffocating nightmare. Beside a giant husband, Christopher Rios, famously known by his stage name Big Pun, was one of the Black/Latino rappers with the most exceptional lyric-spitting skills in hip-hop. But what struck the eyes of anyone looking at him wasn't his talent, but a body so giant it was out of control. Towards the end of his life, Big Pun weighed nearly 700 pounds, 317 kilograms. His wife, Liza Rios, was his high school sweetheart, possessing a completely normal, petite woman's figure. This colossal gap in weight wasn't just a number. It created an atmosphere of ultimate suffocation right inside their own home. More terrifyingly, this massive frame turned into an overwhelming weapon when Pun got angry. Big Pun had an extremely violent temper. When he flew into a rage, Liza had absolutely no chance of defending herself. In the 2002 documentary Big Pun, Still Not a Player, Liza Rios bravely made public video footage of the violence, including scenes of Big Pun beating and assaulting her. She also shared that the abuse began when she was only 16 and lasted throughout their marriage, landing her in the hospital multiple times. The climax of the tragedy happened on February 7, 2000, at a hotel in White Plains, New York. Big Pun suddenly suffered a massive heart attack and collapsed. When paramedics rushed into the room, they faced a cruel reality. His body was too big and too heavy. They struggled, sweating bullets, but couldn't lift him onto the stretcher, nor could they easily roll him over to perform proper CPR. The massiveness that was once Big Pun's trademark was now hindering the very efforts to save his life. Pun passed away at the age of 28, leaving Liza with a lifelong trauma of choked, gasping breaths in the dark of night. Out of these 15 mismatched couples, whose story left you the most shocked and haunted? Leave a comment right down below so we can discuss it together. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to continue uncovering the most authentic and sensational stories in the entertainment world in our next videos. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye, and see you next time.